All right, so yesterday I did a live stream, and the reason I don't do live streams anymore is because they're a complete waste of time and energy. They don't get any views, they don't make any money. They're absolutely, completely, and totally worthless on this channel, and I am not going to do them anymore. I enjoy the interaction, but if I'm not making money, there's no point. This is a part time job. This makes money. And if I have to sit here and make pre recorded videos for members only, that's what I'm going to have to do. Just putting that out there. So while I was talking to you guys, the constant subject of that we don't want jobs anymore. This is an exact quote from a comment. We don't need jobs in America anymore. We need money. And somehow the social contract between slave and slave master broke. Because even at the founding of this company, the slave owners had to at least put a roof over their slaves' head and feed them. Well, guess what? You can't do that anymore while you're laboring. And in fact, the only live stream I'm going to have is, since labor is such a big part of this channel, we're probably going to celebrate Slave Day on Monday together. But that might be it, just special occasions. Regular day to day, no, no, thank you. 2 hours to make no money sitting here, yeah, that's pointless. I'd make better money standing on a street corner with a cardboard sign. So, with that said, let's get into today's video. No one wants jobs anymore. And I did videos, I did at least 100 videos during the bug time about how no one wants to work anymore and how angry owners and businessmen and executives are at the proletariat because they don't want to work anymore. Because work isn't worth it. All right, let's do the opening monologue. You ever notice how every help wanted sign is less of an invitation and more of a warning label? Like, come inside, sell your soul for $14 an hour, and leave with back pain, a side of depression. They say no one wants to work anymore, but what they really mean is nobody wants to waste their life in a polyester uniform just to afford gas money and dollar menu survival. And honestly, you can't blame us for not wanting to work anymore. I see it every day. I see it at McDonald's. I see it in the workers. I see it at the pet store. I saw it at PetSmart yesterday. The cashier that was working the counter was scrolling through her phone. Then I went to the reptile store, and the owner really doesn't like middle-aged men. The customer service just wasn't there. When I brought my friend to the same place, he was bubbly, he was energetic, and yesterday he was like, "Get out." And as I was walking out, a guy found a giant tortoise in his backyard. And I'm talking about one so big, a desert tortoise, that the owner's sister could ride on top of it. It was huge. I don't know where he found like a small swimming pool to put it in order to bring it there and give it to the owner of this place because he didn't know what else to do with it. Anyhow, let's get into talking point number one. Think about it. You're not lazy. You're just tired of being ground up like hamburger meat and jobs that pay less than the groceries you're bagging. The real joke is that they still call it opportunity while handing you a polyester uniform and a paycheck that barely survives the weekend. That is so true. I have been cutting back on any sort of large purchase in the past couple of weeks just because I'm incredibly broke. And it doesn't seem like corporations care. They don't care how much their workers work. To them, labor should be free. And every time you show up and your boss cringes at the fact that you came back for another week, all you can do is just put your hands up in the air and say, "You know what? No one's hiring." That's what I've dealt with for years with everyone that's worked for me. It's like, "I'm sorry. I'm trying to find a better job, but unfortunately I can't. And so I'm stuck." And so they're job hugging something that they don't want. It's like having an unattractive girlfriend, but no one else will like you. And so if no one else will like you, then you got to hold on to your ugly girlfriend because it's unfortunate, but this is the world we live in. Choice isn't a right. Having anything in your life is kind of a privilege. Work is a privilege. There you go, millennials team. I was actually last night while I was incredibly intoxicated when I was talking to you guys on the live stream. I was thinking of changing the channel name to Millennial Jesus because Millennial Steam starting to get a little old, and Millennial Steam can't change anything. The only thing that can change anything for the proletariat is Jesus himself. Because didn't he kick the money lenders or money exchangers from the temple? That's what I'm trying to do. Trying to get rid of rich people. Tell them to go somewhere else. Do something better. Stop wasting your life enslaving people and then calling it opportunity while you exploit the living hell out of every person that needs money. Because these job creators, they're not real. If the job creators got paid just like the people that have to take those jobs, they'd find something better to do with their free time, like actually work. All right, let's go to talking point number 2. These jobs were never designed to lift you up, they were designed to trap you, just long enough to keep the machine moving. The irony, your boss will tell you to dream big right after reminding you you're capped at 14.75 an hour. This was my biggest qualm, I would call it, with low paid jobs. I got the same speech that I got at Walmart that I got at Insight. My first day, supervisor comes in and says, "Welcome, Millennial Steam, to Insight Inc." And I was just like, okay, I'm looking at a lot of poor people here, and you can tell poverty. Walk into that parking lot and see how many 20-year-old cars you see. And then look over to the corner where the executives park. There's a big difference. All your worker bees have to be manipulated into believing that what they're doing has meaning. Because as I've been told on many occasions, even if you're doing phone work, you should be smiling because your attitude is reflected in your tone. Many a times my boss would come over like, you need to be smiling while you're talking on the phone. And I'm like, why? They're like, because it sounds better for the company. You need to be more upbeat at work. You need to stop frowning and slouching. You need to stop looking around like you're trying to escape. That's another big one. If you've ever gone to the zoo and you look at the animals at the zoo, they have something very, very much so in common. They're trapped, just like the proletariat. And just like the proletariat, even if the master opens the door, the animals from the zoo, they may think they want to escape. They may think that this tiny little enclosure that they live in, where they have food in a corner, they have a drinking bowl, and they get all the fresh air that they want. But the truth is, that is your life. If you're born poor, this is where you get to spend your life, in a crummy, rundown enclosure with your dog food in one corner, your water bowl that hasn't been changed in 3 days in the other, and the only thing you can do is roam around the perimeter of your enclosure. Why do you think that overconsumption, beer commercials, and Netflix are so popular in a world in which you don't have anything to do? Basically, we keep ourselves entertained by watching Netflix from going insane. This is what happens to human beings when you put them into solitary confinement. They don't talk to anyone, they don't see anyone, they don't engage with anyone, and slowly the human mind goes insane. The mental health crisis in America right now has everything to do with the low quality of employment across this country. Great, there's 150 million open jobs, but how many of them are non-living wages? Why is our entire society functionally unemployed? Why are less and less people going on vacation? Ordinary people. I'm not going anywhere. It's a 4-day weekend. It's Labor Day. I don't have anything to do. After I'm done doing this, I'm gonna go pick up some rocks from the riverbed and bring them back to play with my aquarium. Why? because I have the lifestyle of a kid in elementary school, because I have the paycheck of a kid in elementary school. And that's by design. Why would they give people more money than they need? As long as they pay you just enough so that you keep coming back to work, that's enough. $16 an hour for a 30-year-old man working at a Chipotle. No one is wondering why. Yesterday, I was having my reptile enclosure being set up. And by set up, I mean I had all the pieces. I just needed someone to kind of put them together like Legos because I just don't have that skill, at least not when it comes to terrariums. So I didn't know what to do for a couple of hours. So I went and I found a Cadobos. And I haven't seen one of those places, those restaurants, in years. I'm talking since I graduated from university. I haven't been in a Caboto's restaurant. It's just a fancier Chipotle. I'll tell you this much: I haven't eaten there in a long, long, long time. And the food is actually good. It reminded me why I kept going there in college, because it was really good. Chipotle is not good anymore. Cadobos is good. I highly recommend it. It's at 48th Street and what is it? 48th Street and I believe I-10, just off the I-10 on what's that? On Ray Road. So it's right across the street, kind of like from Target. Anyhow, it's only been there for 3 months. The place was empty, and the only reason I'm bringing it up is because the manager was like 20 years old, and his 4 workers had to be in their 40s. You're talking about all of those people in the kitchen making the food had no reason to come to work and be happy. They're 40 years old, they're working in fast food, and if they're lucky, they're making $16 an hour. The From what I could tell, the new manager was fresh out of college. I don't know how he got that job, other than usually when you're rich, you know people, and someone probably just knew someone needed a job. Because even a job like that, even a manager of a fast food place right now is probably bringing down 70 to 80K. Why? Because it's a lot of work. Not only do you have to manage that entire restaurant, but you have to keep the influx of losers coming in to work for you. No one that's a winner's coming in to make tacos. If you're 40 and you're working in fast food, something terrible has gone wrong in your life. And unfortunately, we can start saying that about more and more losers in our society. One of the videos that I was working on to do today's video was someone who told me that they've been lurking in the background of my YouTube channel, and they could relate to coming out of school and going through the pipeline, college to cashier, or cashier back to cashier. Because the reason I went back to school after the 2008 financial crisis, because I couldn't find a real job. I was working at Kroger's, pushing shopping carts, and my future looked bleak. So, and I looked around at other men in my situation, and they just didn't care. A lot of people will do what I tell you not to do. They will figure it out at the minimum wage. And often, more often than not, you're going to have to find yourself a loser, Susie Rottencrotch, and you're going to have to make it work. Unfortunately, this leads to children, even when people don't want to have children, because people get lonely. I wanted to tell you guys about a recent article that I read about, I saw in the newspaper about a woman who was going back to an abandoned water park to do some indecent deeds. But I don't think that's suitable for this channel. Anyhow, let's get into talking point number 3. Every CEO with a mansion cries about the lazy generation, but they'd quit in 2 weeks if they had to scrub toilets for rent money. The painful truth is, the only person who still believes in these jobs are the ones who never had to clock into one. That's the way that they've described almost every politician that we have in Washington right now. The reason why they can go and fight for the minimum wage at $7.25 is because they've never had to live off of it. Can you imagine telling a 30-year-old man who just lost his good job and has no chance, zero chance at ever getting a good job again because his job has been outsourced or replaced by AI? How do you tell that man that he's going to spend the rest of his life working at crummy jobs that no one wants? The rest of his life. Because these mediocre jobs, the jobs that require some technical experience or 3 to 5 years of experience, even they're going away. So now talk about people with 10 to 20 years of experience. They automate your job or they slice up your job into little fillets of fish, right? So you're getting paid $120,000 and the company thought you were making too much money. So they hire 6 part-time people and slice up your job. They don't have to pay them benefits. They don't have to care whether or not they stay the first week. I mean, at McDonald's, there's a lot of people who come in and realize, oh my God, this is way too much work for $14 an hour. And they leave. And it's common. And you're just kind of like scratch your head and you wonder, it's like, how many times can the low pay discourage people and you not think about what that means to them? The job that no one wants is universal. It comes with practically nothing. No job security, I'll make paycheck, crummy hours, sadistic guards, and a toxic work environment. That is your typical job right now in America. And they're always hiring. Let me let me rephrase that. As a former Walmart worker, they're always taking applications. Because everyone, at least during my tenure, every person that was down and out, including myself after graduation, will see that sign on the door and think, oh my God, they're hiring. I can get a job right now. It may be minimum wage, but I'm not going to do this job forever. The reality is it's a trap. It trapped me and it traps millions of people. Because if they do hire you, and I'm saying if, because the only way that you get hired in one of those places is once they lose a worker. As soon as someone gets fired or stops showing up at work, they need another potentially slightly warm body in order to take their spot. And so they'll call you back, interview you like they're asking you to run a nuclear power facilities, because they want someone that they can be disappointed in. And it's something I've seen in every single retail job I've ever had, is that sudden realization that Susie Rottencrotch is going to work just as hard as the Susie Rottencrotch you had in that same cashier position for the last 10 cycles of hiring and rehiring and hiring and rehiring. And sometimes these places, they don't understand. They don't understand that the Mick paycheck doesn't buy the Mick life that you want. And it's always your fault when you fail financially. And when I worked at Inside, the employee assistance program was in full effect. They knew it was hard to hire. They knew their workers weren't making it. And your workers have needs. They have medical needs. They have leisure requirements. I hate to use the phrase work-life balance, but workers burn out. Most workers start burning out when they're teenagers. Once you realize that you're never going to be rich while you work that job, I think that's when the burnout hits you. Because it's not about moving up, it's about being able to stand still in survival mode for the rest of your life. So, yeah, no one wants these jobs anymore because these jobs don't even qualify as survival anymore. They're like quicksand. The harder you hustle, the deeper you sink. And the punchline, the people calling us lazy couldn't last 2 weeks doing that job. They swear builds character. Maybe the real, Maybe the real truth is this. If work was truly about dignity, they wouldn't have to guilt trip us into taking it. That's really what it comes down to. Remember, according to rich people, any job is a good job. And in America, where they claim that unemployment rates are 4%, you have to laugh. Not every job that they claim that someone is working is a real job. If you were talking about jobs with dignity, with real wages, jobs that you can start a family with, family jobs, I would say that that would be 1% of all jobs that are currently open and available for someone with 3 to 5 years of experience. The reality is that most of those jobs are only for people who are in the right situation. Like I was talking about the other day, you may come to work and work for the same company for $14 an hour for 20 years, but they already have a type of person that they're looking for in order to promote. It's not you. It's not the fry later guy standing next to you. It's not the cashier. It's a nephew, a friend, someone that they know that they're going to hire into a high level position. They never hire from their deadbeat workers from within because they know that Johnny Six Pack out there pushing shopping carts in 110-degree weather, he's not there because he wants to be there. There's something about Johnny Six Pack out there with his skull, with his brain boiling inside of his skull in this Arizona summer that's keeping him there. That same type of energy isn't going to come from Chad, who comes from an upper middle class background, whose parents went to Ivy League schools, and he just decided that that college wasn't for him. But because of his connections to his parents, his family, and his family's friends, he doesn't have to go outside and put shopping carts, and he never will have to. Some women have it even better. As long as you're beautiful, someone will give you something. You may have to put out a little Susie Rotten crotch, but as long as you're beautiful, it almost ensures that you will not have to suffer as much as an ugly, poor, unconnected man. The same guy that's pushing the shopping carts. For you, life is not going to be entirely fair, but it's going to be a lot better than that guy that's given them 20 years of loyalty and he's invisible to the corporation.